celebrate Debbie's life and to share the many ways that she touched all of us. And thank you, Larry, for giving such a nice introduction to Debbie's life and accomplishments. As for me, I will always be Debbie's little brother. Most of her friends know that. When we were growing up, my main goal was basically to annoy Debbie as much as possible, as only a younger brother could. And I was good at it. She would have her friends over and I would listen, and they'd be in her bedroom and I'd listen to them hiding in the outside of her door, and I'd listen to them talk, and just about after 15, 20 minutes I'd burst in and tell them I was going to tell everybody what they'd said, and I was going to do everything, let everybody know, and of course Debbie would get upset, chase me out, but that's okay. The good thing about that was there wasn't any social media, so we couldn't do too much damage. I tried to think of more specific stories, but the bottom line was I was just a total pest, but she took it in stride. And then as we grew older, our relationship grew as well. Debbie wanted to be a good big sister, a loving aunt, and she loved our dogs and everyone else's dogs too. She watched and loved our dogs Buddy and Brutus, but she had a special attachment to our first dog, Josh, also known as the living dust mop. That's the little white fuzzy dog over there. Anyway, she loved him and they were the best of pals forever. And she would just dog sit for him and the family and friends. She loved to dog sit. She would dog sit for anybody down the street or anywhere. She didn't care. But anyways, she just especially loved Josh. And she...
We gave him to her.
Yeah, and eventually we gave him to her because she loved him so much, so we just let her have him. But Debbie's main love was her art and everyone she shared it with. Her friends, her family, but especially her students in Lancaster High School. She had a special bond with so many of her students that are now scattered across the country. She would always talk about her kids that she taught for over 3.5 decades. We shared many great times together. Sometimes she was on time. Other times she was a few hours late. But she would eventually get there. We would always tell her at Christmas that Christmas dinner was at noon, so that when we started at 2, maybe she would be there. And most of the time she was, but we had to do that. She always tended to lag a little bit. One of the special memories that I have is the many times when I was at Ohio State, I would stop over at Debbie in German Village and we'd eat at the Mohawk restaurant.
Yeah.
And we'd have dinner there and we'd talk and we'd play pinball. That was back when pinball was going on. And we just had a great time and relaxed, and it was just a fun time, and it will always make me smile. Memories of her family times, her kindness and generosity, and her free spirit will always be with me, and I know it will always be with you. So thanks again for making Debbie's Day special.
Then we just wanted to mention also, there were several of Debbie's friends who couldn't be here today. And we do hope they're live streaming it. We just wanted to mention, Marcia had called us so many times, just sharing memories, and so sad that she couldn't be here. So we wanted to just include her. We know she's here in spirit. Her other good friend, Pepper, who many of us all have gotten to know Pepper over the time, was so sad she couldn't come. And she was just very helpful during Debbie's illness. She visited her often and definitely kept her full of Starbucks. And we also have our cousins that they have provided the programs that we have here. But we're going to go to that a little bit later. When I talked to people, many people said they wanted to share their memories. Now that we're here, I'm not sure if you wanted to, but we'd love to hear anything you would like to share. Okay, good. Go ahead. You can come up here so we can hear you.
I have a book.
Good.
Well, first of all, I'm Kathy Zekas Carpenter, and I spent a lot of years with Debbie at Lancaster High School. This is me, and this is Lise Ricketts. She could not be here, she's on a trip, and she called me this morning and said I broke out in tears this morning. So her heart is with us. And this is Deborah. So we started at Lancaster High School, the three of us. Well, she started 2 years before us. She was at Lancaster High School, and she was with two older art teachers. I don't mean old, but older. And she was 27. So they left for certain reasons, and Debbie was left alone at Lancaster High School. So Lise Ricketts and I were fresh out of college, and we were hired to teach with Debbie. So I was 25, Lise was 24, and Debbie was 27, and we were all single. Okay. Okay. Okay, so Debbie was at the helm of the art department, and we didn't quite understand her a lot. She was funny, fun, but she had such an attachment to her students. And being young, and you have high school students that are 18, seniors, you know, we saw this bond she formed, and also when they left, she continued that bond. That communication, and many of them that she got close to went on to become successful in the field of art, graphic arts, advertising, just so many fields. So that was pretty neat. We had a lot of adventures. The staff called us Charlie's Angels, some of them. Some called us the Three Musketeers because we'd walk down the hall together, you know, or we'd have art shows together. And then some of them, from their perspective, called us the Three Stooges. And what made us, and we were different, you know, we're art people, we're kind of crazy, but what made us different from the English and the other departments was that, well, Debbie was part of us. And for example, Debbie went through that street skating era period, do you remember that?
I didn't know.
Oh my goodness, in Columbus, she was street skating with some of her friends, and so she brought her roller skates to school. And she brought 3 pair. And I said, what are we gonna do with those? She says, we're gonna wear them to the staff meeting. And I go, we're professionals, you know? And there's like 100 teachers. We had 1,800 students in that school. And so, lo and behold, she talked us into it, and we rolled down to the staff meeting in our roller skates. And we just thought we were the center of attention, but nobody laughed. But anyway, we have so many stories of how Debbie got us, Lisa and I, through that first year. It was a difficult year for us. You know, we'd never taught, we were thrown into this high school, and Debbie were hard shoes to hard path to follow. She was intelligent, she was witty, fun, and she had impeccable skills. And so she taught us so much that first year. It was wonderful. And we became lifelong friends. So I have here that she was full of life, and her wit and laugh will always be remembered. Her intelligence created that wit. Her students loved her for that. Her knowledge of the arts taught me as much as a college classroom. Students were fortunate to sit under her teachings. Her skills were impeccable, from silversmithing, painting, drawing, ceramics, and later digital, when she got her master's in computer digital arts, which was another story. Oh dear. She had such a creative mind that would drive her in many directions. If you knew Debbie, you know, she had a lot of art directions she'd be going in. And she often would have a hard time reeling in one idea. But I think the reason she was a good teacher is because she was a facilitator of her students. She would bounce those ideas, they would bounce their ideas, and voila, we'd have a finished product, which sometimes was hard for Debbie to have. So that was a wonderful thing. Lise, Debbie, and I, and Lise Ricketts is the other teacher, and I said, you know, she sends her condolences, and she's in the Grand Canyon. So, no, she's not. She's in Yellowstone National Park. Sorry about that. So after 6 years together at the high school, Lisa and I were moved to different locations because of a reduction in force. Lisa never came back to Lancaster High School. She stayed in the freshman school. And I was in junior high then. But we stayed close because we were the art department, the high school art department. Now, we had other art teachers in the system, but we three were tight. I returned back to be with Debbie after 14 years in 1996. And we finished our retirement together. She retired, I think, a year, my son Josh said a year before me, when her mother died. Well, she came back when her mother passed away, but that was a very, very difficult year for her. And I said, Deb, it's time. You need to retire. Those last 11 years taught me the later teacher person of Deb Coffelt, because we were all now in our mid to late 40s. At least Deb and I were, and Lise was right behind us. We three, knowing each other so well, spending 8 hours a day together, at least I was with Deb 8 hours a day. We shared our joys, our failures, our disappointments, our family illnesses, and losing loved ones. We saw Debbie's compassion, thoughtfulness, and her giving through those years, because we were older and we were looking for those things more. For example, she had a student that developed cancer. She was at the hospital every day after school with that boy. I mean, she had him for 1 year, but that's how she was. They became her children almost, you know. My husband was diagnosed with brain cancer. And that year, she said, what can I do for you? And I said, nothing really. I mean, you know, I'm coming to school, we're getting through this, and so forth. She started bringing me lunch. Every day, she'd make this beautiful salad she said all the ingredients are from Trader Joe's. She loved Trader Joe's. And she'd make her one. For the rest of the year, that was months, she brought me a salad every day. I thought, who does that, you know? It was beautiful, beautiful. And I saw her cry over student struggles in life. We'd share after school and we'd talk about our kids, and she'd just be in tears. And so she was very close to those kids. The one thing that was kind of funny, but sweet, every time one of her seniors had a birthday, she'd bring them a cake. And it was a yellow pound cake with yellow frosting. And she'd put blackberry or raspberry preserves in the center, and it would be made in this beautiful bundt can. And we would fly to that cake. It was so good. So being her colleague, I said, I need that recipe. I'm not giving you the recipe. I said, why not? Because you'll start bringing the cake. I said, no, I'm not. If my kids get cookies, they're lucky, you know. So anyway, the year of her retirement, she said to me, I'm going to give you that recipe. I said, oh my, I would love that. It was a Duncan Hines lemon cake. And on the side, it had the pound cake recipe. She poured Duncan Hines lemon icing on it and filled it with just jarred preserves. And that was the recipe. I was so upset. I was so happy. And I still make that cake for special occasions. That's a Debbie cake. So that was wonderful. Our art department circle of me and Lisa and Debbie is broken now. It's hard when you spend that many years with someone. We're going to miss Debbie, but the world will miss her more. I also have, I have so many stories, but I brought some comments from some of her students that they put online, and I thought I'd read them. Britta Johnson. She was my art teacher sophomore year, and she was the one who got me started on doing digital work. And Britta now does that for a living. Kathy Rainford was a teacher friend. She was such a talented artist and teacher. Valerie Hoffman Bradford. I have great memories from her jewelry and textile design classes my junior year. And you know she was a beautiful silversmith.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautiful. She taught me a lot. In Ohio State, but she taught me a lot. Holly Stoughton Plesher, that was a teacher. During one of my classes with her, we chatted a lot. I told her I could forge my mom's name. My mom was never home to write our illness excuses. I'd write my own, and then she would back me, her mother. Miss Coffelt asked if I could forge hers. Can you forge my name? I told her I could. She made me prove it. I did. Then she wanted to forge mine. She couldn't, and I confided that I practiced hers to get that good. She was so much fun. Kelly Helser was a teacher. I remember her being so passionate about teaching. Randall Thorpe, intensely sad to hear. Karen Ross, a teacher, such a funny and artistic spirit. Sarah Hedges, a teacher. I enjoyed teaching with Debbie, so artistic and fun. Luann Slater Weisenstein. Debbie was my favorite art teacher in school. Well, that left me and Lisa out. I don't think I had her. Becky Cooper-Forberg, I enjoyed her class. Jack Greathouse was one of her principals. I am so heartbroken to hear this news. I absolutely loved working with Deb. She did so much for many of us at LHS. She connected so well with many students there. Patrick Gretzer, a student friend. Oh my goodness, my heart is broken. She would come visit me in New York, and I would always take her out for lunch and coffee. Kurt Plinke, he was a student, retired teacher, artist. Speaking of the three LHS art teachers, Debbie, Kathy, and Lise were a great group of people and teachers. You kept a lot of us heading in the right direction. He has just been diagnosed with cancer, by the way. Prayers would be appreciated. Paul Harp, always liked Miss Coffelt. She was a very good art teacher. Dave Adcock, great teacher. I've never forgotten her since 1973. Always enjoyed her classes. Judy McGraw, student. One of my favorite teachers. I still remember and use the technique I learned in jewelry and pottery class. Because of you, Debbie, I am still making jewelry today. Patrick Retzer, student. She was a light in the dark for so many of us. Rest in peace, you will be missed. Jenny Lee Miller, a student. She was a wonderful art teacher, one of my favorites, and I learned so much from her. I think I took all of her art classes that I could, even some twice. Loved her jewelry and pottery classes, learning about metals, stones, how to solder, cast jewelry, and her throwing in the wheel. She always made me think creatively and boldly, to make mistakes because you can always start over. Her classroom was that place for me in high school to hang out during study hall. She truly added to my love of art. Thank you, Ms. Coffelt. I think that's all that we have. That's all we were going to share. So, she will be missed terribly. I have lots of her jewelry that I will wear, and think of her always as my dearest art friend.
That was really nice, thank you. It was so nice to hear that perspective. Did anyone else have something to share? Okay. So, her cousin that did the pictures in the back, they also did our program, and unfortunately they were unable to be with us. That's Jim and Kirk. But I don't know if you have seen the pictures back there going, those were from our trips to Italy. And there's a reading in this that I'm to read to you today from Jim. So here I'll go. Memories of Debbie from her cousin Jim Braun. Thanks, that helps. Having moved to New York in 1981, I was always thrilled to have Debbie as a house guest. We grew very close due to our common interests: performing arts, museums, galleries, enjoying great food, checking out interesting shops, though I get a little nervous about untold hours spent lost in aisles. On her first visit after I met my husband Kirk in 1985, Kirk then joined me in enjoying Debbie's periodic visits. Debbie was the first person in my family to meet Kirk, somehow easing our first trip together to Ohio to meet the rest of the family. I'm going to miss Debbie's eccentric humor. In conversation, she would often pause for a couple seconds, tilt her head to one side, close her eyes contemplatively before responding with a chuckle and an association with something else from the past. It was always fun because you never quite knew what would come out of her mouth when she straightened her neck and opened her eyes. Even speaking with her on the phone, I can still imagine her striking this pose during the brief pause we had before she'd speak. We had 2 wonderful trips to Italy together, 2011 and 2017. Between them, we sampled wines, ate wonderful food, shopped the local markets, met up with friends. Rome, Venice, Florence, Tuscany, Umbria, I'll always remember Debbie pulling up in an Uber with 3 large suitcases, just about 10 hours late, to meet the group of us for dinner. Debbie did love her clothing, hats, and wraps, and she did know how to make an entrance. Finally, I like to be grateful to Debbie for dog sitting and taking such great care of our dog Coco. When not with us, she'd begin each conversation by saying, "How's my puppy?" And we know she shared that love and affection with Brutus and Buddy, and they loved her back. And those are from her special cousin. So, and they provided this brochure. So everyone got to see that back there. We're just kind of closing, and we thought maybe the cousins or the nieces and nephews can come up, and Doug was going to read.
Thank you. I'm Doug Coffelt, Debbie's nephew. Reading is called Remember Me. Don't remember me with sadness. Don't remember me with tears. Remember all the laughter we've shared throughout the years. Now I'm contented that my life, it was worthwhile, knowing as I passed along the way, I made somebody smile. When you are walking down the street and you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I'm with you each morning, noon, and night.
Well, so now that we've said our farewells and shared so many memories, we all know there really was only one Deborah Coffelt. As we leave here, we'll keep her in our memories and the depths of our heart. We can honor her memory by living our lives as she would, by taking the joy and pleasure she found in life and sharing that freely with everyone. Farewell, love, and peace to Debbie, and thank you all for coming and sharing this day with us.
That was great. I was sense of Debbie. I didn't know that. I know so many stories to tell.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the service today. So at this time, everyone's welcome to return to your cars at your own leisure. Thank you.
Tony and Tim grew up together in the spring. So he was younger, brother's annoying friend, I guess.
Yeah, I remember Debbie being in that house. I didn't know that she was the mom. But I remember being in that house and when she was a teenager. Oh, right, those friends.
I have a big brother for you, I know that, you know. Well, she,